You're listening to Southeast Radio's Business Matters with Karl Fitzpatrick in association with Wexford Insurances. Challenge us at Wexford Insurances 0818 31 30 30.
My first guest this morning is Tony Ennis from Ennis Co Business Consultants. Tony, how was the business environment in County Wexford in 2012?
I think in 2012, Karl, it's improving. That's not to say that it's not still challenging for many businesses, but I think there are lots of businesses in County Wexford, a lot of them have featured on your own programme this year, that are successfully moving forward and doing really good things. So I think it's challenging, but I think the signs are good moving forward.
And from your own insight, Tony, what's the difference between a successful company and one that's not so successful? What are they doing differently?
Well, I think there's probably a couple of things. I'd start with the very basics, and I'd say the attitude of the business owner and the business manager. I think that has to be positive. I think if the business owner is not positive, then I think it's very difficult for the people who work with him or her to be positive. I also think that in terms of looking at their cost base, running the business very effectively and very efficiently. And probably the third thing I'd say is that the good ones are always looking out for the opportunities. Nothing ever stays the same in business, and you have to be open to seek out opportunities and then move very fast when those opportunities occur.
Now, in relation to your involvement with Wexford County Enterprise Board, I know that you've delivered 4 Start Your Own Business courses across the county during 2012, training in excess of 80, I suppose, potential start-up business owners.
Yes.
From your insight into that, what's the quality coming into that course?
It's a fantastic course because it's short enough in duration. It's 10 weeks, and the people who commit to doing it come in for 3 hours every week. Typically what you find is there are 3 types of people who do the course. There are people who have the business up and running, usually within a year, and they're looking for some guidance on some specific areas. That might be taxation, or it might be finance, or it might be marketing, whatever. The other group of people are the if you like, the core group, and they're the people who haven't started yet. They have a very definite business idea and they want to know what actually they should do to give themselves the best chance of success. And then the third grouping are people who have maybe thought about the idea of getting involved in their own business and want to know what's involved. They may or may not have a specific idea in mind themselves.
And what percentage of those are service-based ideas that are coming into the programme?
Oh, I'd say the vast majority, Karl. I'd say probably 90% of the businesses who do the programmes throughout the county are service-type businesses.
And is there any particular sector that stands out from the rest in relation to those that are coming forward?
No, it's usually very evenly spread. You'll find some of the traditional services, the local services. You'll also find health and beauty. You'll find some of the trades involved in terms of the services. A lot these days now you'll find people that it's internet based, or maybe some professional service linked to the internet. So that might be in terms of social media, it might be in terms of retailing online. A number of areas like that are coming to the fore in recent years.
What percentage of people go on and start their own business after completing that course?
I'd say probably if you were to take a 5-year time spread after the course ends, because very often what you'll find is that people need time to think about it, to plan it. So some you'll find start quite quickly, particularly the ones that came in the door with the intention of doing it in the next 6 months. So I'd say it's north of 50% of the people overall. I know the Enterprise Board do some research every couple of years just to identify it, but it's in excess of 50% of the people who do the course.
I know that the Minister for Enterprise announced recently that the Enterprise Boards are going to be dissolved and are going to come in under the auspices of the local authority. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, what I'd say is that, first of all, it's a decision that's already been made by government, and it's going to happen in mid-June in 2013. So it's a fait accompli. What I would say is, because I'm old enough to remember what the business environment was like before enterprise boards came along. So I'd be a massive supporter of the enterprise boards and what they do. So I'd say that it's an opportunity if the government and Enterprise Ireland and the local authorities who are all going to be involved in the new local enterprise offices, if they take what's being done really well by the enterprise boards and enhance that, I think it'll probably be a positive outcome. But I'd say the jury is out on it, and I'd say they would want to mind it carefully. Remember, the enterprise board is the local agency. So I think it's a positive move. I think Enterprise Ireland are very good at what they do. I think their expertise is going to be available to the new agency. So it's. I hope it's going to be good, but let's see what actually happens in reality.
Tony, you'd be well known across the county for your mentoring support service that you offer through the Enterprise Board. During 2012, did you have many mentoring assignments, and if so, what sectors were they in?
They were probably spread, Karl, throughout a number of sectors. So I would probably say manufacturing, services in a number of areas, and tourism. I'd say they'd probably be the three main categories. But within those, maybe I would have dealt with somewhere between 20 and 30 individual businesses, and they typically would have ranged from a number of mentoring sessions to maybe 5 or 6.
And if we zone in on each of those specifically, let's say the tourism sector, how was business in that in 2012?
Well, I think tourism is on the up. I think, particularly in terms of County Wexford, I think the work of Fáilte Ireland through Tara Kerry and Gary Breen, and then through WLD, have put a huge amount of money and resources into tourism in the county. And I think both in terms of individual businesses, so if we look at the big picture, this year alone, Wexford Equestrian Centre started, Wells House in Gorey started, Loftus Hall started. These are big tourist attractions. So there's a lot of other activity as well after happening. So I think what we've started, or what's very close to being made a reality in County Wexford, is that we have a lot of tourism offerings that people can come to Wexford, they can stay in Wexford, and there'll be lots of things to do in Wexford. I think things like garden trails and heritage trails that are also being supported by WLD all add to the mix. So I'd be very positive in terms of tourism for 2013.
And is Wexford reliant on domestic tourism far more so than international tourism?
Yes, the answer is yes, and that's the reality. That's partially because of our location and our proximity to Dublin, and it's also in terms of we didn't have the infrastructure, the big infrastructure that was in place to attract lots of overseas tourists. That is now changing, and I think the work of Billy Kelly and Liam Griffin and lots of other people combining. There's a lot of effort now in tourism in terms of clustering, businesses getting together and making a very clear product offering for the domestic market, but also for international tourists. So I think we're getting there.
You also mentioned local service providers, and to be fair to them, they're providing the majority of the employment across County Wexford. How is their business climate this year?
Challenging. If you're a local service provider, you're dependent on people spending money in the local community, and obviously because of the economic climate that's out there, there's less money in people's pockets. So they're thinking more about what they're doing, but there's still opportunities out there for service businesses to prosper. What people need to do is they need to look at new ways of delivering whatever service they're providing, or maybe look at additional services or totally change the services that they're providing.
You say you also worked with a number of manufacturing related businesses during 2012. Again, how was the climate for them?
Well, I think manufacturing is split into two. There are, again, people who are involved in manufacture for either the local, the regional or the Irish market. And I think they've had to take hits in terms of their profit margins. So I think what they've had to do, the key challenge has been to get their cost base under control. I think for Irish companies who are County Wexford based companies who are involved in export, I think those companies are really powering ahead. I think, and I would add in there the internet category as well. I think there are opportunities for manufacturing. We only have to look at, we'll say, Kent's and Wexford, who this year won Exporter of the Year, who are exporting to a large number of countries. So that's a big example, but there are small examples of companies in County Wexford in the manufacturing area who are successfully selling in the UK, into mainland Europe, and some of them into areas further afield.
Tony, it often puzzles me why such a small percentage of businesses across the county actually engage with the likes of the Enterprise Board and Wexford Local Development. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think part of it is an information deficit. I think the businesses themselves don't realise that for example, the Enterprise Board or Wexford Local Development, they're there specifically for everybody involved in business. It may be the case that sometimes business owners think it's only grants that are available. And while grants are important, the government themselves have rules that says that has to be restricted to particular business activity types. But there's a huge amount of advice and support that's out there, freely cracking good advice within the Enterprise Board and within WLD and the other agencies as well. And all it takes is a phone call or go in and make an appointment to go see somebody. And remember, not only is it the person that you're talking to, but it's the person that person knows. You know, they have a large network of expertise and people that they can call on. But are they going to pick up the phone to the business owner and going, well, how's it going today? No, the answer is no. It's probably, that's not going to happen. It takes it to work the other way around. So really the business owner needs to take ownership themselves, make the phone call, and then judge whether the support or the help matches the claims that are made.
Now, we've mentioned Wexford Local Development a number of times already in this interview, and I know that they've supported the tourism projects that you've mentioned earlier, from Loftus Hall to Wells House. But the current programme that Wexford Local Development have access to through Leader expires at the end of 2013. What difference will that make?
Remember, there is still 2013. That's the first thing to say. Now, within the operational time frame that they've had, they've put 12, or they will by the end of next year. Like, their budget was in excess of 12 million. That's 12 million euro that's come into the County Wexford economy, and to be fair to them, has been spread out. So it's created jobs, it's created employment and commercial activity for providers into all of these. So I think it's been a fantastic thing. I think there's still a year to go. They're still taking good projects on board, and there's money there to support it. Quite a lot of money still there. So I'd say take full advantage to the business community, take full advantage of it. Come to them with your ideas thought out. Come to them with good ideas, and I think there's an open door, and they're very willing to listen and to support you. Beyond 2013, it's back to the government and the European Union to see what new programme gets put in place. It'll probably be a different style of programme. The amounts of money, I think, will be probably less, but there will still be activity there moving off into the future.
I think there's an assumption out there, Tony, amongst the business community that the Enterprise Board and Wexford Local Development, that they don't fund my type of business. What would you say to that? Well,
what I'd say to you is you could be right. That's the first thing I'd say. But you won't know until you go and talk to them. So the answer is I'd always ask the question and then let the agency tell me that I either do or I don't qualify in terms of funding. But I'd stress the point that funding is part of what they do, but not all of what they do. Remember, very often it's the support and advice, maybe training, maybe mentoring. It's those type of services that in the long term, in any business, so long as you're located in County Wexford, they can all avail of that service. And again, all it takes is to either go onto their websites or to make the phone call to find out what they may be able to help you with.
So just for clarity on that, what you're saying is that the Enterprise Board supports every business from a soft skill perspective, whether it be training or mentoring related, but certainly when it comes to the grant aid, it has specific restrictions in relation to that.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. And very similarly with WLD, there are lots of areas that they can fund, and it's available on their website. But again, they have soft supports available as well. So it's a matter of making the phone call and seeing what help they can give you. But remember, you need to have some clarity in your own head in terms of what it is, what type of help you're looking for.
What's an ideal project for Wexford Local Development to fund today?
Well, I'd say it has to be. I'll just do the geography bit first. It has to be outside of the environs of Wexford town. Everything else in the county is considered rural. Any type of innovative enterprise, commercial enterprise, located in a rural location. That's one area. Tourism, we've mentioned a couple of times, and that's obviously a big area as well. Alternative farm enterprises, that's another area that they fund. They also fund projects for groupings and clusters. And that could be community clusters, or it could be a number of businesses getting together. So they have quite a large category of enterprises that they can support.
Tony, next week business owners are facing into a new year, 2013. By all accounts, it's going to be another challenging year, especially after the last austerity budget in the last number of weeks. Based on that, what are your top tips for business owners across the county to not only survive but thrive in 2013?
Okay, Karl. I'd say maybe let's start with one thing that I've mentioned already, and that's about the business owner's attitude themselves. I'd say get a positive attitude, get a can-do attitude. If that's you as you currently are, then keep doing it. If that's not the way you currently are at the moment, change your attitude. So that'd be the first thing I'd say. In terms of, I'd say be very focused. Particularly be focused on the things that you can control, like what the government decides to do in a budget, or what the government decides might be in terms of a framework that they're going to use for enterprise boards or whatever. That's outside of all our controls, so I'm not going to worry too much about it, and neither should business owners. But the things that you can control, your own time management. Okay, we're all guilty of it. It's too easy to have our time stolen. So adopt good time management techniques. I'd say set some very clear goals for yourself for 2013 in the business. Not 22 goals, because I'm talking about goals for a year. So if I said to you, close your eyes, tell me what your business is going to look like in 12 months' time. You already know where your business currently is. Now, the challenge is to work out how you're going to get from where you are to where you want to be at the end of the year, and turn those into goals. And then for each goal that you have, whichever, maybe it's 3, 4 or 5 goals, define a set of actions underneath each one of those. And literally, who's going to be responsible for these actions, what the action is, what resources you're going to need, when are you going to start it, and when are you going to finish it. When do you intend it to be done? And if you work your business that way, you can concentrate on the things that are important and ignore the things that will either steal your time or just make you very reactive.
As Charles Darwin once said, it's not the strongest that survive, it's those that adapt the fastest. And on that note, Tony, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you for coming in and sharing your insight and advice with business owners across the county. And I wish you continued success in 2013 with Ennis Co Business Consultants.
Thanks, Karl. And maybe I just like to say a couple of things. Just in terms of yourself, it's been a fantastic year. The program's been very inspirational. There's lots of good stories out there, and you've played a key part in getting that message out there to the business community. In terms of to the business community, I'd like to wish a lot of people involved in it a happy Christmas, a fantastic 2013. Stick with it. It'll be worth it, and provided you're willing to put in the effort, I think the results will be better. I think as a county and as a country, we're getting there. It mightn't feel that way at the moment, but we've come a long way since 2008. And I think the future will be a lot better than it has been in the last 3 or 4 years.
You're listening to Southeast Radio's Business Matters with Karl Fitzpatrick in association with Wexford Insurances. Think Wexford Insurances for your business insurance.